So my plan with this video today was to address why did we make the decisions we did about gathering for in-person worship. But after the murder of George Floyd and all of the rioting and peaceful protests and everything that's been happening, gathering for worship has kind of seemed less important than considering how do we respond to all of that. And it's still the same scripture that I was going to share with you and the same question, but there's a little bit more clarity as to where it's speaking in my life, and maybe it might offer some help for you. And so I'm wrestling with how to respond. What does it look like to be a faithful follower of Jesus in the crazy days in which we are living? And I keep coming back to the scripture and to one question. Scripture is in Luke 10. It is the parable of the Good Samaritan. And the parable follows right after Jesus affirms that the greatest commandment is this, to love, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And then the man he's talking to says, and who is my neighbor? And then we read in Luke 10, Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I will pay you the next time I'm here. Now, which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, the one who showed him mercy. Then Jesus said, yes, now go and do the same. So here's the question I keep coming back over and over again to discern and respond to all of this. It's not it's been asked by a lot of other people. It's just simply, what does love require of me? When I read the story of the Good Samaritan, there was nothing keeping him from traveling on his journey except the call to love God and love neighbor. Nothing to keep him from moving right along his merry way except this call to selfless, sacrificial love. He could have done nothing, and nobody would have thought he'd done anything wrong. Not a Samaritan, not a Jew, because that was the cultural norm of the day. But instead of doing what was permissible or acceptable, he did what love required of him. I've been praying a lot that God would make me more like the Samaritan in this story. That I would look for not what other people saying I should do, not what the cultural norms are, not even what I can do, but wrestling with, God, what does love require of me? Leaning in and just seeking God's face and asking him to do something in me, to change my heart, to fill me with love that then influences and determines and shapes my actions. I mean, this question has a way of cutting through the fray of all of the other questions we could be asking, all the other factors that could be determining our response to difficult and complex situations. But it brings us to what is most important to Jesus. That we love God with everything that is within us, and that we love our neighbors. I don't presume to know the answer to this question for you, for any other group or any other church, but I offer it as one that brings us to the heart of the message of Jesus. What does love require of us? So my prayer for us this week is simply, God, would you give us the grace and courage that we need to discern and to do what love requires of us.